Okay, so we have a great guest here today, a new neighbor stopping by, and I'm extra special because this neighbor and I actually go back farther than I can't even count.
Yeah, we get to mix my world with your world too. A little bit of a voice specialist combined with sports. So something I know something about and something I know nothing about. I'm jazzed up.
Good, let's roll with it.
Welcome to the podcast, Neighbors Don't Knock, the show where two neighbors drop by for conversations that are fun, relevant, and downright hilarious. Join them and special guests in their mission to talk about anything and everything and laugh about it no matter what. Now, here's your hosts, Brian Chambers and Philip Goffrey.
Hello, faithful listener out there. Or maybe we got bumped to two listeners.
It's plural. It's got to be plural at this point. Come on now.
Thank you for joining us in our episode. Remember, we drop new episodes every Friday. You can catch great neighbors that stop by and, some great banter that yours truly with Philip decide to get into. Some tough issues.
Indeed. The great neighbor stopping by is a fact. The great banter, subjective.
It is. But you guys are in season 5, episode 4. We're excited because this neighbor and I go way back, so I don't want to waste any time. Let's just get right to it.
Absolutely.
Okay. He's been in radio a very, very long time. And in fact, I knew him in radio when we were together in college. So hint, hint there. If for those of you that listen to the show know where I go to college, we'll test you in just a minute. But he's worked throughout high school and college. He's wanted to be part of the radio scene for as long as he can remember. He was also a producer on the afternoon drive show 105.3 The Fan, home of the Dallas Cowboys and Texas Rangers. For 5 years, later, he started his climb up the executive branch there, overseeing radio stations, and then they moved to Albany, New York, then Denver. So he's been around a little bit. But fear not, you faithful Houstonians. He came back to Texas, and not only is he from Dallas originally, but he's now a native Houstonian living in the Katy area. I'm not going to give any more away. His laundry list of accomplishments is incredible. He's got a new business going on that he's going to talk about, but let's just get him on the show. Let's welcome Armin Williams.
Hey, what's up, boys? Thanks for having me.
What's going on, dude?
Hey, man, listen, I want to make it clear, I did not knock when I came over.
He really didn't. I
just
can't
walked in the house.
Actually, we heard him shouting from the driveway. Should I knock? I'm not knocking. I'm coming in.
Yeah, I did. I wasn't going to go. I wasn't going to pull the curtains. I wanted to make it sound like I just walked in unannounced, but I was really nervous. I didn't want to walk into somebody's house I didn't know and then get pumped full of lead. So I was like, hey, Brian, am I at the right place? And he's like, yeah, I can hear you because you're loud. I can hear you outside the window.
Makes me think that we should get that VHS of, what was the Home Alone movie? Where
Home Alone would be the movie?
No.
That thing was titled
No. Where they're trying to sneak in and he puts on the video with the gangsters.
Home Alone 1.
Yeah, Home Alone Part 1.
Yeah. No. What's the actual name of the movie? That's what I'm talking about. Where it's like,
no one knows. All they know is keep the change.
You filthy animal. Yeah. No, but he said, pump your guts full of lead. He's like, I'm going to give you to the count of 3.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, that's what I was just picturing.
2, 10.
Yeah. That's so funny.
We don't do that, but no, we're so happy that you're here. And welcome to Houston, man.
Yeah. Have you thawed out since you left Central New York State? Are you?
Oh, man. So I went from...
Or Denver. Yeah. Take us through kind of your path a little bit.
Well, I was in Dallas on the afternoon drive show, 105.3 The Fan. I was the producer, fourth man on the show there. And then I decided to go the executive route, the management route of program director.
And for those that are listening on the podcast, that was air quotes on the executive route.
Yeah.
Just to let you guys know.
Congratulations, by the way. You can do them properly. He can't. So.
Yeah, sorry.
I thought it's weird Brian keeps throwing them up just randomly like, hey, hello.
I do.
Yeah.
But you should be used to that. Nothing's changed since college, right?
No, it's been we've known each other, is it 20 years now?
I know. We just haven't been in contact, which is it's awesome to have you here. I can't even, this is a little surreal right now for me.
It's cool. It's cool, but we hijacked you. So you're in Denver, you're producing the show.
Yeah, well, started in Dallas, and then I moved in 2013, went through this quote-unquote executive route, the program director route, moved to Albany, New York.
Oh, it was Albany. Okay, gotcha.
Market 65. So in radio, it's all about the market size. The more people that live in a demographic in a DBA area, right? That's how large the market is ranked. So Houston is market 5, Dallas is market 4, right? You get the point. So I went from market 4 to market 65 to get my experience, right? To be a manager at ESPN Radio in Albany. I was there 3 years, then went to Denver, Colorado, where we covered the Broncos. Obviously talked about the Broncos all the time. They're such a big brand there, very similar to what the Cowboys would be in the Dallas area. I was in Denver for 3 years and then came to Houston to be the program director at Sports Radio 610 here in Houston. So I've been here 3.5 years. So if you talk about thawing out, okay, going from Dallas to Albany was a culture shock.
I bet.
Upstate New York.
In more ways than one, I'm sure.
In more ways than one, yeah. It was incredible. We have lifelong friends. And then going from Denver to Houston, yeah, man, my blood, because, growing up in Texas my whole life, born and raised Dallas guy. Sorry, I normally don't say that out loud.
That's all right, man. That's all right. My family lives in Dallas now, so I can't. My little
if a Molotov cocktail comes flying through the window, by the way, I'm holding you responsible.
I told you I was scared. I was scared about the gun when I walked in, and now we're talking about bombs going off.
Keep the change, you filthy animal.
Exactly.
That's what it's going to say too.
Indeed, written on the note. Yeah,
exactly.
But man, when I got here, yes, it takes the first summer heat killed me, and this summer heat. Again, it's so hot here. But when your blood,
this summer's been outrageous.
Your blood, yes, it has been, but your blood really does change.
Oh yeah,
100%. It's crazy.
Well, okay, so did you want to leave? Let me ask you this about with radio. You've wanted to be in radio for forever.
Since I was 13.
You just knew. When was the first moment really that sparked wanting to get on the mic?
I was 8 years old and I fell in love with the people behind the mic. I would listen to the country station 99.5 KPLX in Dallas, and John Gaynor was on the air, and Harmon and Evans and Beth Cherry, and we'd be driving in the car, and I would tell my mom, "Hey mom, did you know that Beth Cherry has 2 kids and they go to blah blah school?" And my mom would say, how do you know that? But I connected with them on the radio. They were the individuals that connected me to the artist, to the song, and then I connected to them through all of that. And they would go, when you listen to a radio station and they say, "Hey, join me Saturday, I'll be at Walmart from 4 to 6. I would make my parents take me to their appearances, and I would meet them.
That's really cool. That's very old school.
It really is.
It feels
especially
very,
at a young age.
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Really,
I think that's awesome.
And in the 90s, they had the headshots that they would bring with them. They were 4x6 headshots. And I would
you got them signed, huh?
So I have a folder. Probably has 75 headshots. I mean, I have 9 Beth Cherries, 7 John Gaynors, because every time I went, I would have them sign another one for me.
You're going to pass that down to your kids, and they're going to open up and be like, "Who the heck is this?
This sucks." They're going to throw them away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Why would anybody keep my
this?
memories. It's like, come on, Dad.
Yeah. Meanwhile, you're looking at your kids going like, "This person had more awesome by 8 a.m. every morning than you guys get in a week of work." So let's...
All right, so you
judge not.
Exactly, but so that's really neat. I didn't really know that about you, because let's fast forward a little bit. Yep. So you decide you want to. We met in college, and we went to the great college, Texas Tech University.
Tech.
That's right, Wreckham, go Red Raiders. And we met doing radio, actually, 88.1 KTXT. So were you a DJ with the radio station as well? I know we did the sports show together, but...
Yeah, there were 2 different major radio ownership groups in Lubbock, and I worked for one of them when we were in college.
Okay.
Through college, and then I worked full-time when I graduated. I stayed in Lubbock and worked at Z102. I was on the morning show once I graduated in 06.
Okay, great. Okay, got it. So, and just for our listeners and viewers out there, if you're watching on YouTube or if you're listening on your podcast, the name of our show, do you remember it? Do you remember the name of our show? I know it. But it's like glory years for me, right? It's like reliving.
Can I guess? Was it something about Sports Bash?
No.
Am I close?
There was a bar called Bash Rip Rocks.
Yeah, well, that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking of our show. Is the word sports in it?
It was the word jock. I'll give you the first word, jock.
It wasn't Jock Jams. It wasn't Jock Rock.
I'm going to assume that it wasn't Strap.
No, it wasn't Jockstrap.
One never knows.
It definitely wasn't.
That's a fair suggestion.
You're listening.
Got that sports itch.
Jock
Talk.
It was Jock Talk. That was it. It was Jock Talk.
Boy, like you like just came in at the last second, like I took all the
Just
hits.
in the nick of time for Philip to get off that itch of jock strap.
Yeah.
Philip, how creative were we, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Indeed. Sponsored
Jock
by Gold
Talk.
Bond, I hope. That's,
If we were, if we needed it to be, hey, if we had a sponsor, man, you know what we could have done. But no, we had a lot of fun, man. Little B and Arm and Hammer. That was our,
Man.
and we,
wow.
yeah,
Little
yeah.
B and Arm and Hammer.
That's right,
I
man. We
like
had a
it.
good time with that, and
Well done.
you know, there was a lot of great guys. I mean, I got to meet and hang out with Wes Welker, and I know that doesn't mean anything to you specifically, but
I usually nod politely, though.
I know, but for the sports world, Wes Welker, very Super Bowl champion wide receiver, played with Tom Brady. You know, he started out undrafted. He, I think, still holds, maybe it's broken. I have to check, but you might know. Does he still hold the record in college football for punt returns for touchdowns still?
I don't know that.
Okay.
I don't know off the top of my head.
But-
I don't know.
But I mean, it was just really.
I doubt it with the way records get shattered these days, but I don't know off the top of my head. But one of the best wide receivers to ever come out of Texas Tech, a long, prolific NFL career.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
And now
absolutely.
he's still in the NFL. He's still coaching in the NFL. So he's a recognizable name to NFL fans, unlike Philip.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's recognizable.
I
in
love
9 out
it.
of 10
that.
I
people.
missed you, man. Just throw him under the bus right now.
Dweeby dude sitting to my left over here.
Pretty much every human outside this door would know Wes Welker except Philip.
Except
Yeah.
for Phil. He played for the Patriots.
That's cool.
Yeah, you know who the Patriots are, right?
Yeah, I've seen them once or twice.
Okay.
Yeah.
So as long as
In passing, like on the way to get to the beer, but you know.
you've seen Patriot players in passing, or you
Well, like on TV.
Oh, okay.
You know.
I was like,
Usually there's
I was
a
like,
television
where were you
between me
getting?
and the
Where were you
bar.
getting beer?
Well, at this point, I doubt that he had football on the TV. I mean, even that was surprising to me.
But often somebody does.
That's true. That's true. But anyway, so it was a good time. We had a great time. So I'm glad to see that you are continuing that trend. So you get out of college.
Can we touch on before you move? I got to give you credit on something at KTXT.
Oh wow!
we were
I will never pass up the moment to get credit. Hang on, let me readjust myself.
This is the only time you got to readjust yourself.
There's that jock strap again.
There we go.
Sponsored by Gold Bond.
Yeah.
Still not leaving that.
When my crotch itches.
All right.
Now, this will mean nothing to Philip, but when we were on the show in, what was this, 03?
Yeah, I think we did it for what, 2 years?
304, something like
Yeah,
that?
something like that. Yeah. So
Because when did you graduate?
I graduated 06. I actually
Okay.
graduated 06, but I think we did it for 2 years.
There was this guy that every week Brian insisted on having on. I didn't know who he was, to talk college basketball, Jerry Palm.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
I remember that.
And Brian would be like, dude, this guy's really good. Like, you don't understand. They use the stats. And I still had never heard of him. And I just kind of went with it. And he would come on. And don't get me wrong, he was very good. But now, if you are a college basketball fan in 2022, you know Jerry Palm. He gets brought up on ESPN and CBS all the time now. They now have, I think they might call it the Palm Report, and they have the defenses ranked. So Texas Tech basketball, I mean, I heard it every week this year about how,
I didn't even realize that.
according to Jerry
Wow.
Palm, Texas Tech is number 9, and like they'll bring up the graphics on ESPN, and every time they do, I'm like, freaking Chambers nailed that 20 years ago.
And,
Well
and,
done.
and honestly, well, thank you. But I'm going to give a little bit of extra credit to a friend of mine, Max, who I had guest on the show as well occasionally. And he was the one that introduced me to that connection at first. And he was like, you've got to do this. And I was like, all right. And I looked, I was like, you're right. We got to do this. But I didn't know he was going to get so big, which it's a very mathematician type of thing that everything's become,
he was
right?
analytical before analytics was a thing.
Yes,
That's a good point.
before like Vegas became Vegas with all the NCAA college sports betting and stuff.
And I hate math, so Brian would give me the Jerry Palm report, and I would look at it and be like, "This sucks. Like we got to do it. We got to do a whole segment with this guy and talk about numbers." And then 20 years later, I'm like,
This
"Oh,
is
that was the one thing he knew what he was
What's
doing."
going on here?
Whose name do I wait? Hang on. No, it was really informative. It was very informative. So, but that's awesome, man. Thank you for that. But
There's your credit.
But a little shout out to Max as well, man. Thank you for that introduction, and all of us. It takes a team to make shows work. So you have to be able to bounce ideas, and you are a great co-host, just as Philip's a great co-host. Like we co-host well together, just to be able to bounce things off of each other and have a good time and still get the information out there. So you were fantastic at that. So it doesn't shock me that you've been brilliant in radio as you've continued.
Well, thank you for that. I don't know if I deserve all of that, but I don't know if we deserved our show being classified as the show worked. I mean, we had 2 years in college radio, never really got any feedback. We just did it for fun. It was a blast.
Hey, I think it worked.
Now you guys have had 5 seasons. Like, I think you guys at this point, it works.
Yeah.
Something's working.
Hey, listen, I would have had the under. I'm proud of you guys. You guys were doing great. I listened to the show.
All right.
I appreciate that. Thanks. It took me a little while to figure out how cold I had to keep the room to keep Brian's jock itch under control. But after we worked on that,
He'll never let that one go now. It's like
on.
athlete's foot. It just doesn't ever go away.
There's a dead horse in the corner, and I was going to keep on.
I thought it was weird you kept adjusting the thermostat, but now I know why.
Yeah. Now you know why.
I want to ask you one thing about radio, because it's really interesting. Your love of radio and how you kind of started, we kind of touched on it a little bit. It was a little more old school. Do you think that radio is becoming obsolete now, especially with the way video and YouTube and podcasting is kind of growing? Or do you think there's still a big market for it?
Obsolete's a strong word, but the market is crowded, and radio has to fight for the listener's ear more than ever, right? Because, I mean, on the way over here, I listened to a podcast on Spotify. Shout out. I was actually listening to one of your episodes. I went to a playlist on Spotify. I went back to the radio, and then there was something on Apple Music I had saved, and I grabbed that just in a 40-minute drive, I had all these options at my fingertips. So easy, Apple CarPlay in the car. The attention span is less than ever.
Yeah.
I mean,
what would you say the attention span is?
I was taught probably 6 years ago that a listener makes the decision within 9 seconds if they're going to stick with you or not.
Okay. That sounds about right.
And then the average occasion of listening for a radio station is probably between 9 to 11 minutes is what Nielsen would tell you. And then somebody comes into your station 2 to 4 times a day. So that's what you, as a radio coach, as I basically was, like, that's what I would coach my talent to. Hey guys, if you only have somebody for 11 minutes, your show is, do the math, is 12 11-minute segments. You have 12 11-minute shows. You don't have one 3-hour show, right? You don't have one 4-hour show.
Right.
Yeah.
You have an 11-minute show every 15 minutes.
Yeah,
You follow me?
it makes a lot of
that
sense.
makes sense.
Yeah, when we first started doing video for the podcast, Brian kept on telling me, like, listen, I've been researching YouTube analytics. Like, you have to make sure our YouTube videos are short and sweet because people just don't tune in the whole time. And we actually wound up settling on kind of a short version of the show. And then if the listener, the viewer really wants to, they can find the full episode.
Yeah.
But it's true. I mean, you look at our numbers. It's the same deal. Viewer retention is like they pop in, they pop out, they watch for 30 seconds, and they come back. The same IP will come back like 15 times to the same episode. It's weird.
And now if you're not doing timestamps on stuff, they may not watch much of it because they're more likely to click through some of your stuff at least and maybe stop on something versus nothing. But it's a very different.
Well, just think about how you guys scroll through stories and scroll through your feed. I mean, that's exactly how all of us. I mean, social media has changed how we all take in content and what our attention span is for content. And not only does radio have to fight with content from all these other devices and platforms, but now they also have to compete with the sales aspect of it too. And what happens is that a radio sales guy goes into an office and says, hey, we can also do digital. And they can. Radio companies have shifted to where they are multi-platform. They really can cover everything, but it's hard convincing an advertiser that they're better at digital or that they can connect with digital just as well as the guy who claims he's digital only.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So you're competing now with all these digital advertisers as well. So radio revenue in general is slowly going down. Is it obsolete? Not at all. It's still very strong.
Okay.
And then you have guys like, listen, we all live in the city. My brother lives an hour southwest of Fort Worth. He thinks that an app is an alien and is going to take his phone away from him and that it has a microphone on it, which he might not be half wrong, right?
Yeah, about to say maybe he's onto something.
Now we're into Phillips area right now. So.
But my brother, redneck, all of his buddies are redneck, middle class, blue collar, and none of them are ever going to download an app and listen to Spotify.
Right.
They don't know what that means. They're going to be listening to the radio forever. So the radio will be around forever as far as what it sounds like and how the content sounds. It's going to be different. It's hard for radio stations to have the budget to stay local, but local is what wins. So there's a balance there. And over time, the balance is kind of fallen.
So let me ask you
way.
a question. I know that when they're putting out these hit singles for music now, and for quite a while, they've used AI to help figure out how to keep people listening and what song should transition to the next song and all of that to really make sure that the listener doesn't tune away from that radio station. And I know that there's been some interesting recent examples, like the Polaroid picture, Shake It Like a Polaroid Picture.
I
song.
Outcast. Yeah.
Oh,
Outcast.
yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I read some stats, some marketing stats. Exactly. I read
Good
some,
job, man. Well done.
I read some marketing stats on that when it first came out, they had a really hard time getting people to listen to it. And then they wound up sandwiching it in between two other specific hit singles that a computer chose to maximize listener retention. And then the song just exploded.
Sure.
So was there any of that kind of stuff going on with like content for radio shows? Or is it more just guys like you that are...
The live talk format is always going to need bodies to talk live, right? To talk local,
Right.
hypothetically, right? Like that's what wins. So the AI factor isn't as much of an impact on that side, but there's more and more in music radio. It used to be that there was a decision maker in Dallas for music because he knew what Dallas music is, and there was a decision maker in Houston for music.
Like the DJ, the old school, the big bopper. They used to.
Yeah, but
like-
even behind the scenes, there was someone who, to your point, Philip, that knew the market. And they knew which singles to play and which ones to sandwich in between.
Right.
Now it's more. There's a guy out of Detroit, and he might decide the music playlist for 19 markets, and then there might be a guy in Houston who mixes a song here and there in the playlist, but there's not as much time and effort and energy going into it because there's not as much bodies in the radio industry.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, like, it makes sense also tech would lend to helping with that kind of marketing in that world. Like, well, helping or ruining it, depending on how you look at it. You can argue all day long. But yeah, it was just interesting. I was interested, rather, if any of that had bled into sort of like which talk shows you put back to back and things like that from a marketing standpoint. But
Well, I mean, are shows now considered like, if like I listen to stuff on iHeartRadio still and things like that as well for longer term like shows, like speaking of sports shows, like I listen to certain sports shows
on apps or on terrestrial?
On apps.
Yeah.
But is that considered a branch from their radio station, or is that again part of like the iHeart brand or whatever that is? Like how is that affiliated, or how does the radio station, like if Fox or ESPN has a show that they have on ESPN radio or something, but it's filtered through some of these apps. How does that kind of, as far as maybe you might not know this, but how does the dollars get split amongst the advertisers in that realm?
Yeah, so they're digital dollars. So the consumers, some radio stations have the on-air radio ads also play simulcast on digital, but what's mostly been happening over the last, call it 5 years, I mean, here or there, is that the digital side is now customizing ads. So if you're an advertiser, you pay an X amount for terrestrial, and then you can also pay if you want your ad to play digitally as well, right? So it's two different revenue streams.
Oh, got it. Okay.
That radio is capitalizing. And the big difference, so what radio has had to figure out and how to catch up on is when you're listening on an app, okay, when you're listening Spotify, music-wise, even podcast, audio, you can have real numbers in real time. Like I can see exactly how many people listen for how long, and you guys are talking YouTube. You can see exactly when they leave, right? You know that. And if you're an advertiser, like that information is so important as a salesperson to sell to clients, right? In radio, they're still judged by Nielsen. And Nielsen has the same similar technology and concept that it had 20 years ago. And Nielsen will give you the ratings when they come out. I believe it's 3 to 9 weeks later. Like,
oh, wow.
You don't get it in real time. And when they come out, the Nielsen, the terrestrial radio numbers are only with people who are wearing a PPM, a person people meter, I think I got that right, from Nielsen, right?
And for our listeners, though, explain what Nielsen is.
Nielsen is they are the ones that decide ratings for radio and TV.
Okay.
They're the scoreboard.
Okay.
And so they tell you.
yeah.
I didn't know that. I just
How
wanted
many
to
people
clarify
tuned
that.
in?
Yeah, put your
About
finger,
33,000 according to the wins today.
So what they do is they put 1,500 meters out in the Houston area, and then they multiply it times whatever to equal 3.8 million or whatever the population is that they want to equal.
A factor that they decide.
Yes. Yeah. I mean,
Wow, that's not skewed at all in somebody's direction.
how is that accurate? Like, how do you fight with that on the digital side? See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what in radio, and you can credit radio and the companies. I mean, they are coming up with innovative ways and ways to find their own data and to collect that from listeners and to know what the listeners' patterns are. I mean, they're just not sitting back and letting it happen, but that aspect has been difficult for them to overcome.
So what about when we say digital, but let's separate digital from the app and internet world, right? And just go with your HD digital radio signal that can come to like your car.
Okay.
Is that able to give any kind of information back to the station that's valuable?
That's through Nielsen.
That's through Nielsen. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And HD radio that's a small number.
Yeah, I figure, but
Yeah.
So kind of like CB radios, they're not going to be used widely, but they'll always have some kind of use for them, right? Is that where you feel radio is? There will always be some spot for it, but it just may not be the most popular.
Yeah, I mean, again, I mean, I'm not bashing radio because it's still dominant in a lot of ways, and it's still listened by so many people, by hundreds of thousands of people at one time, could be listening at any second. But you're seeing radio evolve as well. I mean, there's a reason why. Go listen to your favorite radio station right now, terrestrially, meaning in your car, on your car radio, and 5 minutes are not going to go by, and they're going to advertise their app or their website or how to listen to them on a different platform because they are trying to move that direction. That's where we are. That's where we're going /R.
That makes sense. I mean, even TV shows, I watch TV shows and they're like, you can follow us, but follow the podcast for the show I'm like, wait, they do a podcast of the show? And it's because they do discussions of the show after and stuff like that.
What about TV shows or sports? Like, Brian, you and I watch sports all the time. I probably watch 75% of sports now from my phone. Laying in bed.
I watch a larger portion on my phone. It's funny that you say that, but only because I cut the cable cord. And so I don't have, aside from like what's on CBS or Fox, as far as for Sunday, for football and stuff like that, I will pull up the NFL app, which is free to watch games. So if I'm somewhere or if I can't get a game that I want to see, I'll pull it up on there and watch it. So I do watch a little bit, not quite as much, but I do try, like, especially with tech season, when it comes to March Madness, I get really into March Madness and I fill out my brackets and things like that. Yeah, I do. I tend to watch. I follow more with scores and checking things on my phone. I probably don't watch as much as you do, but at the same time, I do find myself, you're right, I find myself watching probably more than I thought I would. So jumping a little bit, or fast forwarding a little bit. Okay, let's get to a little bit of Houston sports and things. 'Cause I know you bounced around, and you've had a chance to work with a little bit of the hometown team here. Astros, no, not so much. More Texans.
Yeah, so I was at Sports Radio 610, and we were the flagship for the Houston Texans.
Okay,
so that was the team that we had the official partnership and relationship with, that I spent the most time with, especially obviously working with their front office. Great people in there that I worked hand in hand with. Great relationship and partnership.
Okay, sure. And not to get, I don't want to get you in trouble here or anything, but I'm gonna ask a little bit, because we've had a lot of controversial things going on with our home team here. With Deshaun Watson and all these cases.
Yeah, and this is the sports stuff that I get tuned into a little bit. It has been a little bit.
It's been there, and
so
then
you follow the off the field stuff then.
A little bit,
okay.
yeah.
And then of course some of the front office. There's some controversial of what's going on with our executives in the Texans organization.
Sure.
Is there anything that you might be able to previous to or share with us?
Yeah, I mean, we can go back to, I guess, timeline wise, this would have been 3 to 4 years ago.
Oh, hang on. Okay, we're back 3 to 4 years ago now.
Why does the fast forward and rewind sound the same?
Yeah, he just loves pressing buttons.
Yeah.
Do not get on an elevator with Brian Chambers.
I'm not going to go timeline again.
I will lie. Don't timeline again. All right, fine. We learned our lesson. All right. So anyway, we're back 3 to 5 years.
So Bob McNair passes away. Cal McNair, his son, takes over the team. Cal McNair is running the team. Now, Jamie Roots was the president of the Houston Texans since they began, right? for nearly 20 years. It just so happens that, Jamie had an incredible relationship with Bob McNair. Cal and Jamie, you can say, probably just didn't have the same relationship. That happens, right? I mean, you change bosses and you don't click with them as well as you did the other one. So Cal and Jamie agree to go separate ways. When Jamie leaves, there was a guy they had recently brought in from New England who was the chaplain for the Patriots, Jack Easterby.
Those East Coast guys.
Hey. Easy.
So this guy Easterby has gotten this rap because there was a...
Sounds very East Coast. Easterby.
See what you did there.
It's going to sound East Coast when we hunt you down for making fun of his name. You know what I'm saying?
He's a chaplain. He doesn't hunt.
There you go.
He's full of love, you guys. Come on.
But from East Coast, you never know, right? They could be a chaplain by day, and who knows what's going on at night. All right, we digress. All right, so Easterby comes.
And he has never had any experience of running a team, being a president, being a general manager, and he was in that interim role for all of it for about 8 months. So the bad rap that the Texans get is that there were some trades and moves made by himself and Bill O'Brien at the time that were a mess. And so a lot of the household names that we loved, like a J.J. Watt, are no longer there, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that was a bummer and upsetting. And there were trades and jerseys that everybody wore, and they ran a lot of those guys off during that time, right? And then they brought in a general manager who basically corrected that stuff, and he's there now, and everything's on track now, but the Texans have a perception, right?
They had the optics were already bad, and so now he's having to clean everything up.
And it doesn't help that the general manager they brought in is Nick Caserio, who is also from the Patriots. So you still have this feeling of Patriots South. But I mean, if you're asking for the quote unquote inside scoop, I'm doing the quotes again, Brian. Don't abuse them.
And properly again, I might add.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Thank
Phillip.
you.
Thank you. No, you don't use the quote there. This guy, Nick Caserio, knows what he's doing, and it's going to take time, and they're rebuilding. They now have to rebuild not just the roster, but everything, the whole image, the team. They've brought in a new marketing guy. It's all completely different. In a lot of ways, it's unrecognizable of what it was 4 years ago, but it's not bad. They fixed a lot of things, and it's just going to take some time to rebuild it. And for all intents and purposes, they're headed back in the right direction again, but it's going to take a little while for them to get some household names again. They probably don't have the right quarterback right now. This probably isn't the guy most likely.
Wait, we actually have a quarterback right now?
His name is Davis Mills. Actually, Davis Mills.
I do remember Mills. Yeah.
He's got the biggest neck. Philip, like you would like this because it has nothing to do with sports, but his neck, it's like a turtle, and his mom told him he should get a turtleneck endorsement. I thought that was a good mom play.
That is a mom play. That's what's his name? It was was it Reggie White or no? Who did the Campbell's soup? With Reggie's, was it Reggie's mom?
Yeah.
I think it was Reggie's mom decided to do the Campbell's soup, and she shows up in the locker room at the commercials like, Reggie, eat your soup or whatever.
Oh, Mom.
Yeah, exactly. It was like a kind of a cool endorsement. So I like that.
I might not be plugged into the whole sports thing, but I do have lots and lots of colleagues and friends who are, and what you're talking about with the Texans in that period of time, man, it was so apparent to even people like me who don't watch the games, because these guys that I know, they're all like season ticket holders, and they were all super into the team. And then all of a sudden it was, fuck it, I don't want to go to the game. I don't really care. You know, they would just pass on game after game.
Yeah, like tickets used to be a hot item, and all of a sudden...
Yeah, they weren't taking customers. Like, no customer wants to go.
Yeah, now it's very interesting. And I'm convinced Bill O'Brien, the former head coach of the Houston Texans, had dirt or dirty pictures or something on somebody. Like he had to have something. He rose into power as a head coach very quickly. I don't know what. I'm speculating. It's my opinion, but it happened very quickly. Like all of a sudden, he's now head coach. He's calling out the plays. He's now GM. I'm like, are you just appointing yourself? It's like the seats are open. It's like, I think I'll take that chair. I don't know what was going on, but
I don't know. It's easy to cast stones though when you're not at that level.
That's
right?
true, but that's also why I was kind of asking. That's why Armin has kind of an inside track, or a little bit more than I do. So I'm glad to hear that they're riding the ship and that things will get better. So that's good for the home team. So I'm very excited. Now, is it hard to be rooting for the Texans, or are you still rooting for the Cowboys?
You know what? It is not hard to root for the Texans. It was hard to root when I lived in New York. It was really hard to root for the Giants and the Yankees. Because growing up, my mom's side of the family was from New York. So I was raised to where my cousins and I would go back and forth all the time. Nasty stuff between Cowboys, Rangers, and Giants and Yankees. And like it got to the point to where my grandfather would not call me on my birthday. But as soon as the Giants, when the clock went 0-0-0 and the Giants beat the Cowboys, hey, Ahmed, how you doing? What's going on? Like, I know why you're calling. Why am I calling? I just can't check in on my like, Gramps, you missed my birthday. What do you mean? What? I'm just calling to say hi. No, you're not. You're calling to be a jackass. Like, this isn't nice.
That's awesome. I grew up in Connecticut. My family's from Binghamton, New York.
Yeah, of course.
So the Yankee Mets thing, for example, like
Yes,
exactly. Oh my
it's real.
gosh, it's like Dallas, Houston. The
Well,
feud is real.
My brother's
Giants,
my
same
brother's
thing.
wedding. My brother's wedding up in Dallas when the Astros were playing it wasn't the World Series with the playoffs. The Astros were playing the Yankees, and his wedding was going on during one of the games. At the reception, there were tables with people talking about having games on phones that were watching phones, and we even had and of course my mom's family is from New York as well, and so we had a little bit of a split there, Yankees Astros.
Bet the bride was really happy about that too.
It was like they had somebody announce the score or updates. They had the DJ announcing that stuff.
You think they're about to make a toast, but no, they're just calling out the games. Goes, ding, 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 ding. Go.
I think my uncle destroyed his phone because they lost. The Yankees lost that game, and I think we were on the party bus on our way out after the reception, and I think he just threw it down. He was so ticked off. He's like, "Son of a," and just chunked his phone. I was just like, "Whatever, man." I was like. And of course, my little brother comes down sporting his Astros, the hotel bar later that night, sporting his Astros jersey. I'm like, this is not going to end up well.
Right. If you see somebody sharpening the end of a spoon, run.
But you touched on something that's great, though. In the Northeast, the sports fan base is fantastic.
It is.
Oh, yeah.
They get over the top upset about anything. They can win the game 50-0 and still be like, I can't believe those backup running back played in the fourth quarter. And that's
You're 100% right.
and that
Yeah,
has 7 F-bombs in the middle of it,
Yep. It's wild. You're 100% right.
And it's so much fun in sports radio too, right? I mean, those are great sports radio markets for sure.
Do you have a moment working in sports a lot? I mean, not just radio, but in sports specifically. Do you have a moment within your career that you've had that just sticks out more than most?
Yeah, so I remember when DeAndre Hopkins was traded here in Houston, and we just never thought that would happen. And this was during that time that Bill O'Brien and Jack Easterby were taking over the team, and we just thought it was a joke. Like we literally thought, oh, there's no way that this happened. They got the reports wrong, and then the reports came out as to what they traded for. I mean, I remember where I was in my office when that happened. I mean, those moments probably don't leave you, and then you're having to call all your guys and explain like, hey, listen, here's what I'm hearing here. And they're like, this is, I mean, they're all going nuts,
telling you're crazy.
Well,
It's like, you heard it wrong.
And then my job is that like, I'm trying to protect the partnership. We respect the Texans. And so how do you be respectful in a moment that's arguably the worst trade in the history of the NFL?
This is like bonehead move. Oh, that's kind of cool. I mean, it's really neat that you get firsthand knowledge, or people in that work where you were getting that firsthand knowledge. But I can't even imagine what like everyone's head is doing with moments like that, whether it be NBA, NHL, NFL, and soccer, baseball, whatever. But I think that's kind of cool. So
another moment was we were at Giants training camp, and they had an offensive tackle. His name was Will Beatty. And we're talking in the segment. And, as a radio host, you have to have opinions. It's a boring show if you don't have opinions.
Right.
So I'm going on this rant about how Will Beatty is the worst left tackle in the NFL. How did they bring this guy back? He is so bad. He's got a wrinkle on his forehead for every sack he's given up. Every 5 minutes, it's another sack. I mean, this guy should not be playing in college, let alone the NFL. And I look up, and his beautiful wife is standing 10 feet away from us, staring at me with her mouth wide open. And I didn't know what to do. I just stopped in the middle of the segment. I'm like, and we'll be right back. I'm thinking, who invited the wife to training camp when I'm doing this segment?
I feel like a Ron Burgundy moment. It's like, what is this, amateur hour?
No, you should have gone straight up to her. Hi, I'm Armin. Nice to meet you.
Oh, I don't want her to know my name.
I'm a big fan.
Do you know how big this dude is? You're talking about a large
I was about to say,
American gentleman.
Offensive linemen are like 300 plus pounds.
Philip, he could eat me. And then later we're doing the show at the end of the show, and they're walking by and they're holding hands, and I'm like, he is going to bash this table. He's going to kill me. And she never.
Is there a back door?
I just kept waiting for her to be like, that's him right there. That's that one. But they just walked by, and I mean, I guess they so
prep.
tight. I was so nervous.
They have to they have to know that that's out there. You know, I bet that's got to be in all the discussions and the meetings that they talk about.
I mean, he has to know that he sucked, right?
The whole time she's
I wasn't gonna quite go there because I don't want him to fly down and find us. And
no, the whole time his poor wife's going, "Oh, he's so right."
Yeah. Oh no, that's
my
the
husband's
worst.
so bad.
Try sleeping in the same bed with him. Yeah, you got to lay down next to this guy all night.
Oh man,
Swiss cheese, just letting the door wide open every single play.
Yeah, the only thing that gets sacked in the marriage is you, honey.
Okay, so you had a great career in radio, and but you are a family guy. You have 2 kids, right?
Yeah, I mean it's why I made this transition recently, was to kind of have a different quality of life, to try to enhance that for sure. So I love hanging out with my kids. Yeah,
and Brian's not trying to say that coming from Albany you look like Peter Griffin or anything. He's generally a family guy.
No, okay, yeah,
not
exactly.
The family
not the
guy.
family guy, right? Exactly. You don't have a
thank you.
talking dog named Brian. That just.
I have that image in my head where he tripped on the sidewalk and Peter Griffin's holding his knee, going, and it's like 45 seconds.
That's what made that show really great, actually.
Because they would have those moments that would just, mommy.
They go so
Mom,
long.
Mom.
Exactly.
Mother, Mommy.
Mommy.
Gosh,
Yeah.
That was a good impression, actually.
I will share one of my favorite Family Guy moments. It's when Stewie says it's something about it wasn't as funny as that movie Bewitched or whatever, or something like that. It was just as bad as that movie Bewitched with Will Ferrell, the remake. And it has this really long segue or where it shows him buying a plane ticket, waiting in line, getting on the plane, flying to LA, getting off, going to the convenience store or the hardware store, buying a ladder, going over to Will Ferrell's house, ringing the doorbell, climbing up on the ladder, opening the door. He's like, hello. And he punches in the face and he goes, that's not funny. It was like 8 minutes long.
Yeah,
and I'm just like, I was waiting, where is this going? And I could not stop laughing.
The show was genius.
It was really great.
It's a great show.
So, okay. So Family Guy, I did notice this is very interesting. Everyone in your family, their first names start with an A.
Yeah.
Was that on purpose or by accident?
Well, I mean, isn't it kind of obvious? So, like, when I marry my wife, that would be by accident because I didn't, like, purposely my whole life search out
I've
for
got to
something.
marry an Amy.
Yeah, exactly.
Hunt her down.
She's just like, what's the first letter of your name? No, I'm sorry. We're not compatible.
The first person I was in love with was Nicole, so she was out.
Right.
You know? Yeah, exactly.
What's your name? Heather. Hi, Annabelle. No,
Yeah.
it's Heather. No, it's Annabelle.
No, we're legally changing it.
Right. Her name's actually Jeanette, and we just changed it just so we could have all A's. Like, what kind of question is that? Without an accident ever. So that was a nice coincidence. But then when you start having kids, it's like, wait, we can create the A team here.
Is that where that came from? You wanted the A team? Is that
not literal? It's just a fun play on words. Why am I having to explain? All
I
this
don't.
stuff?
I don't know because I would have thought like that. That would have been something that I would have thought. I've been like, if we had kids and I'd like, baby, let's make the A team.
Yeah.
We could be called the A team.
Yeah, if Stewie from the Family Guy were here right now, you'd been baby slapped. So
Yeah, I'm sure I would have.
just-
He would have climbed the ladder and punched me. That shit's not funny.
Do you have a Mr. T drop in there?
I wish if I had it, I'd be playing it.
I believe
So-
that. Instead, you got to hit the rewind button again.
All right.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
All right. So you and your
we're all
kids,
A's. Yeah,
we're
so
all A's.
I'm Armin. She's Amy. And then I have 9-year-old Abby and 7-year-old Asher. And then the dog's name is Raider, but for obvious reasons, Recom Tech.
Yes, exactly.
There you go.
I allowed an R to jump in there.
But this was not like something that either of your families had done before. Like, there's no
No,
aunts
but
and uncles and all.
Philip, great question. My brother Jordan married Jill, and they now have Jessa and Joanna.
The J's.
Yes.
See? You
Okay.
started
The
it.
A's and the J's. So my parents now say, hey, A's, J's are coming over.
Oh, okay.
There you
Yeah,
go.
that's how
Okay.
we roll.
You get t-shirts printed up for Disney.
Just like large, just a large letter on the front.
That doesn't feel like my wife, but that feels like my sister-in-law a little bit. I could see that happening.
Everyone thinks you're making an Alvin and the Chipmunks reference. You're just like, son of a-
Oh, man. Oh, gosh.
Either that or the Scarlet Letter. Just like
That's a different one, Brian. That's
Dark.
that's for Sam and Cynthia and Samantha. Cynthia? S-C? I don't know.
All right. So, but you guys, speaking of your sister-in-law, you live very close to each other.
My wife is an identical twin. the an identical twin, the twin sister lives next door.
Have you?
How many times do you have to insist that you're not making that up?
Often. Like
Often,
I have to clarify that. Yeah. And then the next question, everybody's like, oh, I mean, what's the next question you would ask me?
Oh, I'm just picturing Everyone Loves Raymond right now. Like you guys walking in.
Yeah.
With the A's and A's and J's, just like.
Well, the J's is my brother in Dallas.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah, but that's good. But so my wife's identical twin is Kristen.
I mean, you're so sweet and innocent and clean about this, Brian. I'm instantly thinking, like, wait, did they ever switch?
No,
I mean, that's like
that's what I get.
first thing that hits.
I was the only question that popped into my head outside of Everyone Loves Raymond was, have you ever mistaken them?
That's the question I always get. And my answer has always been yes, probably a couple times a year. It's something innocent where, because the peripheral, here's the thing.
Right.
Obviously, I can recognize my wife's face. Like I know what my wife looks like, but the peripheral, you're screwed. Like they have all the same demeanor. I mean, you're done, right? And you got to remember, they're both in and out of each other's houses all the time. So like the pain is real. Like I have to be on standby all the time. So I've accidentally
like marked one. Have you ever marked one? Like you marked your wife as she walked by or something?
Did you guys see that the Office episode?
Yeah, where like he draws like a little like I can't tell the difference between the two girls.
Orange
So
wristband.
he puts a little marker. Like Steve Carell's character, just with a pen, he's like gives her a hug and goes. So that way, when she walks by, you can notice it. So that's now what I'm picturing. So there goes. There's the next.
I don't
reference.
have to do that because again, I can tell the difference, but not the peripheral. Let's see. 2 times I've smacked the wrong butt. But
really?
This was when like when we were first married, and they were we're in that mid to late 20s time in our life. And they're both in the same wedding all the time. So because they both have the same friends.
And so they're wearing the same bridesmaid dress
and the same hair and the same makeup, like the same everything. Like so, if you're approaching from behind, you're done. It's like you might as well flip a coin. It's a 50-50. It literally is a 50-50. So 2 times I walked up from behind, smacked the wrong butt.
Looking good, A's.
Yeah. Hey, babe, pop. Oh man. I mean, and immediately, she turns around. I'm like, oh, sunny beaches. Like I am so sorry.
That's got to be more now, probably just accepted, right? Like, does your?
I guess you'd have to ask them. I'm still embarrassed by it.
It's like, oh, he did it again. It's like,
okay. I had a good streak going, and then 2 days ago.
Oh my gosh, it's like the work. It's like no accidents or something with the chalkboard.
Yeah, I had a clean record. Like I was on a streak.
Zeroed.
Yeah. 2 days. 2 days ago, I was in the kitchen, breakfast, wife and my son were in the kitchen. I run upstairs, 10 minutes, grab my stuff. I'm on a conference call at this point. Walk downstairs, I'm on the phone. My wife's at the table, folding some shirts. Put my hand on her shoulder. Hey, babe, love you. Have a great day. Lean forward. She turns around. It's my sister-in-law. I was half an inch from kissing my sister-in-law, in which she starts mimicking me. Bye, baby.
Oh, no.
You should have planted it right on her, right on the lips.
Man.
Sweetheart.
I jumped back. I mean, if I'm not surprised by that, that's probably where I get in trouble. Because everybody's like, do you get in trouble? I'm like, no, they think it's funny. But if I lean in, it's probably not funny anymore.
Yeah,
it's probably the
exactly. It's like they can laugh about it, but you have to be.
How did you wind up living so close?
That's why we moved back here.
Just to do that?
It's not the reason, but that was a huge reason. That
it just so happens the
just
house.
Almost kiss her, is that what you mean? Yeah. I see the smile.
It was
so I can
that
slap that
good.
wrong ass out again.
It was that good.
Oops. Sorry, ladies.
I'm sorry with the quotes.
Yeah. Right.
See, there it goes. No, but yeah, so it just happened that the 4 houses down, right? So you guys just decided that you wanted to be close. Or they have kids too?
They have 2 kids too.
Okay, so it's nice for the cousins to get a chance to.
Oh, it's amazing
to be there. Yeah,
you kidding me? And so my wife and her sister, their DNA is is a match, right? It's they're the same person, right?
So if you lose, if one goes, you got another one.
I got a backup plan. I don't know what her husband would think about that, but yeah, we'll roll that.
Well, there's multiplicity. I mean, what's going on here?
Well, if they figure out the cloning process, then
just
good to go. Exactly.
I feel like time hasn't changed. Like these are the same type of level of conversations we had 20 years ago, Philip. Like this is real.
This is what you get. This is what you get when neighbors just would come by.
22.
I was thinking 18, but I'll take 20. I'll take 22. So
the DNA of my kids and her kids would actually show that they're not cousins, but that they're siblings.
Right.
the DNA would show because their mom's DNA are so strong. You follow me?
Yeah.
Like, that's bizarre. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
That is nuts. I mean, kudos to you guys for all the fun quirkiness that you just seem to have with it. But
It's a fun life though, man. It's cool. It's really cool having the niece and nephew next door, and my brother-in-law and I not only get along, but we're friends, and it's fun. I mean, I can walk, and then my mother-in-law just moved here from Minnesota, so I can walk downstairs, and at my dinner table, any given night, I can have from 4 to 9 people.
That's cool.
yeah,
I
that's
love that.
crazy.
I really
That's
do.
crazy. That's
pretty neat.
Yeah, we didn't have that much family here, but my family was big enough, so it felt very similar. It was
Yeah, you're
always-
like 3 families.
It was always it's always loud, but so I was used to things like that. My wife didn't have a large family, so it was very different. So when I introduced her to my family, well, let's just say it was a very different experience.
Buckle up.
So
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
This is great, Brian. When are we leaving?
Yeah, exactly.
can see that.
Right.
There we go.
So, but okay. So you said you and your brother-in-law get along. Do you guys ever swap stories about your wives a little bit without all this stuff, or does he have some of the same things going on
What do you mean as far as
the mistaken identity?
I don't
How many times you patted your wife on the butt? Come
Yeah.
on.
guys, I don't think he's ever made the mistake.
Oh,
I think I'm the only
he's
one.
batting 1,000.
I think maybe they've kept it secret, but I can't, because I was thinking about that. the
Well,
other
after he
day.
listens to this show, you guys may have something. You may be able to talk a little bit.
I think I'm the only one that's messed this up many times, multiple times.
Oh man.
And as we just discussed, on a regular basis, on a recent basis.
You just got to sit your wife and your brother down, have the conversation, be like, listen, I'm sorry, but he gets 2 free pats, and we have to give it to him.
just an annual thing.
We got to even up the scoreboard.
Yeah, just
Why wait a year? Just make it happen now.
don't make it obvious, save them for the
yeah,
For the wedding, same
The
dress,
wedding,
same
yeah.
hair.
right?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations. You guys are going on how many years now of marriage?
13.
Wow. Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
So that's awesome. And I think we were texting before the show, and we were get back and forth, and you were at a trampoline park with your
Oh man.
with your both your kids.
Talk about hell on earth.
As I
Trampoline park.
I've never been to one.
What?
Yeah.
How do you have a 9-year-old daughter,
I
right?
do.
How do
And
you have
she's
a 9?
wanted to go, but I've been like completely avoiding just the chaos that place must be.
That's the smartest thing you've said in this entire podcast. I mean, that is genius. It's a trampoline park at capacity, like it was the other night. It is so loud. It is crazy, and everyone's just running around, and you're just trying to like get in the corner and stay on your phone and type text, act like you didn't see
How much
anything.
crashing into each other is going
because
on?
it's like
got to be a
it's
lot.
A lot
right?
because there's walls. I mean, everything. My older brother loves going with his kids. Actually, he'll actually do videos of himself doing flips and things like that. I'm like, who's watching your kids? I'm
Spider-Man.
I normally join them. It's fun. Like I enjoy bonding with my kids, but when it's that crowded, the other night there was a school there or something.
Oh, okay.
And it was
maybe a back to school
insane.
night type of thing or something.
That's what
like
it
that.
felt like. It was nuts, man.
Yeah.
It was crazy. And my son was so mad that I didn't join him. And I'm like, I will kill somebody. Like, look at these little kids out here. I'm going to step on something, and then,
And it's going to make a sound that it should not make. Yeah.
juicy and like, yeah. See?
So part of the reason why I've avoided these things is because I grew up with a large trampoline in my backyard. And, this is back before anybody thought of like safety at all, right? There's these
Sweet.
huge long springs, and it was kind of a mat-ish thing there, I can't believe I lived to tell the tale. We used to get so hurt on that thing, so bad. That we didn't break a neck or a back is incredible. Lots of other bones. Lots of collarbones went in my backyard over the years.
Yeah, safety was less of a concern
Dude, I'm telling
when we
you.
were growing up. I feel like.
Yeah, they would just say, go outside and don't kill yourselves.
Yeah,
So,
Exactly.
here's some duct tape, or call us if it's something that's actually fallen
Well,
off.
and I grew up in a race car family, so imagine all the crap in the garage I got to play with. Hey, let's go light something on fire.
Dude,
That's
that
a
would have
vat
been
of chemicals.
That
over
would have been
there,
awesome, actually, because we were all about building forts and things growing up and making ramps for
We
our
used to
bikes.
build some cool
you
shit,
know?
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
well, I hope that you get a chance and your kids get a chance to drive you crazy and you have fun with it, man, because it sounds like you have a great family.
It really does. But so earlier though, you said that you had left the radio world.
Right. Yeah, I'm no longer in radio for the first time since, 1999 or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
crazy.
why don't we
Weird.
talk? Let's talk about that. What are you doing now? What's going on with now? You have a new business.
Yeah. So I am working. Well, actually, I own a franchise of Schooley Mitchell, and we are North America's largest cost reduction company. And what we do is we help businesses save money on their overhead expenses, on their most common overhead expenses. So it's as easy as Philip, you have a building, for example, that's a brick and mortar, and you say, hey, man, can you help me on expenses? And I'm going to go through some of the categories with you that we are experts in. And I'll say, well, tell me about your telephone bill. We'll kind of talk about that for a second. And tell me about your merchant services, because we have a software that scans all 700 plus merchant services fees. Your waste with your dumpster. If you make regular shipments and you're using UPS or DHL, we can help you save on that. So we, on average, save a company 28%. And we don't charge, we only share in the savings, right? So it's no commitment. All it is you saying, you know what? Yeah, I will, I want you to take a look. I'll give you the information you need to have. We'll sign a little confidentiality so the information stays between the two of us. And you're signing a one-pager that says, you're going to give me an option. I'm not committing to anything. I'll only jump into something if I agree to it. I'm not agreeing to anything. And I'll take your bills and I'll go see what I can do. So for example, I have a staff at our head office of 95 people, and all they do Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, is negotiate rates for businesses. The example would be last week, there was a company, they have 5 retail locations, and they spend about $1,000 per location on their internet and their phone system through Comcast, right? We look at this bundle at our head office and we say, man, this is too much, and the internet speed is not very good. We saved them $200 per location, right? And then we increased their internet speed times 4. And then we got them to throw in 3 things into the package, security features that they didn't have before. So we increased their bundle, better price, and they don't have to change vendors. They just have to sign one page, which we facilitate. Hey, Philip, sign this. We submit it. And now we will post audit that for you. And every month we'll give you an update and tell you, hey, it's still looking good with the market prices, or we might start shopping it again. We'll let you know. But it's been a lot of fun doing this.
It's cool. Yeah. It's a great business model.
Because it's saving money for people more than I even thought. The average is 28%. My experience with my clients has been higher.
I love this. I love the visual.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so on the visual.
I'm a very visual person too, so I like this as well.
I feel like we should be doing the whole flight attendant thing for the camera, right? For the
That's very good.
If you'd open up the back of just a look.
I need to bring you guys with me when I talk to clients. I think I just found my secret sauce that I've been searching for. On the front of the trifold there, ladies and gentlemen, it has 10 categories on there. So telecom would be your internet, Wi-Fi, merchant services we discuss, small package shipping, waste, anybody who owns a dumpster. You have the e-signature. That's lawyers, medical field is really heavy in that. The final 3 is your manufacturing and distributing. So utilities, fuel, and tracking devices on trucks.
I see. And the e-signature thing is like the DocuSign.
DocuSign, that's it. Yeah. Yeah. So if you have more than 20, 25 seats at your place of business, we can put those e-signature companies against each other and negotiate the best service and the best rate for your company.
Now, is there a minimum size of a company that you require to do this kind of work for?
I have a client who has no employees, who works out of his living room. I have a client right now that I'm negotiating with that has 1,600 locations, and they do $6 billion a year. It spans all over the map. An ideal referral would be a company that has been in a brick and mortar for at least a year. So we have some documentation of how the bills are going, what the rates are at. Hey, do you like it? Do you not like them? What do you like about the features? What do you not like about the features? So you can give us an idea of what you would
less
like
guessing
to change
at that
to.
point. Yeah. So that makes sense.
Yeah. And probably if they have at least 5 to 10 employees, that's probably enough volume to see if we can find some savings for you. But again, I can do the guy who says, hey, I have a phone bill. Can you help me? Who owns a business?
Yeah, I love this. For our listeners especially, we have a lot of listeners who are entrepreneurs and have small businesses and things like that. So this kind of stuff, I know firsthand, can be very, very valuable. When you say that you charge a percentage of the savings, does that vary depending on the client and the scope and all that, or is it a set percentage?
It's a set percentage. Yeah, it's 50% of savings. Because remember, on average, we save 28%. And that's a big number depending on your bill, right? But I've also had clients, I've saved someone 67% the other day on their telephone bills. It can go pretty high, but it's 50% split for the life of the service agreement.
I see.
And then the beautiful thing, no territories, so you can work, but it's just U.S. and Canada areas, not overseas, right?
U.S. and Canada, holla at me. Yep, absolutely.
Okay, there we go. So, hello, neighbors
Get a
to the
beer, eh?
north. That's right.
That's right.
Yeah, we got to fire some of these hosers that are charging us too much money, eh?
So this is awesome. And if you guys want to find out more or get in touch with Armin, you can look in the episode description for his link to his website or how to get in touch with him. We'll have his contact information there. Or you can email us at admin@neighborsdon'tknock.com and we'll put you directly in touch with Armin and you guys can talk it out and save some money.
Absolutely. We're all about saving cash.
Last thing I tell you, I love helping churches and nonprofits. So I would love an introduction to your business office at your church or your pastor, because I have saved churches thousands of dollars. And obviously, I mean, I'm a faith-driven person, so I love the impact. I mean, that fills me, right? I love giving back in that way to nonprofits and churches, because the most unstaffed companies are nonprofits, are churches.
That is true.
And they like to save them time to where they don't have to make the calls and negotiate for a dang phone bill. Let me do it.
Oh, yeah.
I was about to say,
Let my team do it.
Volunteers at most of those places probably aren't that adept at searching for the best wireless carrier, right? So that's,
exactly.
And why should they be, right? I mean, any business owner, let us save you the time. As you grow, as you expand, we'll find the best provider that fits that new location that you're opening up.
That's very cool.
Well, you guys can get all this information and find out how to get find out more information with the link in our episode description. But before we get out of here, I do want to have you give some neighborly advice. So do you have any neighborly advice that you'd like to pass along?
3 words: own a holiday. So if you're a neighbor, find that holiday, and it can be maybe you're religious and it's Easter, maybe it's Christmas, Halloween, 4th of July, Hanukkah. I don't know, change it up a little bit. Pick a holiday and own that holiday. I'm talking your front yard, go all out. Send out invitations for your holiday party. Let me tell you guys about the story of Bounce House Bob, my neighbor. This dude is legendary in my parts. And would you like to guess how he has gotten the name Bounce House Bob?
I'm only guessing there's a large bounce house in front of his house.
We probably found him by a birthday party to start this whole thing, or
Every 4th of July,
the 4th. There you go.
4th. That's a good one.
he goes crazy. He hides money from his wife all year. I mean, it sounds really unhealthy, but he finds a way to fund this mind-blowing suburbia. I mean, we're in
Stick
Katy,
it in the
Texas.
Playboy magazines.
Yeah, well, not that crazy. He's very, in fact, he's very, everything he does, he's like, well, the kids enjoyed this. This has to be for the kids. He's so focused on the kids.
I love it.
So 4th of July this year, it is now turned into 4 years later. It included a 30-foot water slide that he rented, a 20-foot water slide that one of the neighbors has since purchased as their contribution to this party. He bought a foam machine and foamed up the kiddie pool. We had a water balloon party with 2,500 water balloons. And then at night, he had a $500 fireworks display, all kid-friendly, not a lot of shells, mostly sparklers, showers, and things of that nature. He is a legend, so we now have Bounce House Bob's Freedom Fest.
Wow.
Every
I love
single
that.
summer.
I
So
love that.
cool.
Own a holiday.
Own a holiday.
That's great. Hey guys, thanks for watching. For more videos and fun, subscribe to the channel. Catch full episodes wherever you get your podcast or go to neighborsdon'tknock.com.